I always liked camping. Living in LA, I never got out of the buzz of the city. The lights were always bright and the cars were always moving. People flooded the streets with their fancy cameras and their handbags with tiny dogs. You know, it's LA. But when I could get out, I was happy. Angels National Park was our go to. Angels is riddled with campsites and tourist lookouts. It was loved by many. However, people always complained about the ghosts and the noises. To me, it was just folk tales, something exciting that the tourists like to make up. There wasn't anything that scared me here. There wasn't one thing I disliked, except for one. My father liked to camp. He liked the deep, secluded outdoors just like us. Maybe just a little too much. He would bring us out far past the hundreds of campsites and the paved roads. He brought us out to Granite Mountain, a secluded mountainside where we could camp whenever we'd like. Still, I wasn't scared of it, at least not until I noticed the tree. It was mid-October and it was gloomy. The roads were clear and I got a weekend away. We took the usual drive out and parked in our usual spot. We were unloading when I noticed the tree had fallen. It looked like it had just fallen, but so perfectly it looked, as if it was on purpose. It had to have happened a day or two ago. I stepped closer to the tree to investigate before my father yelled at me to get back and help. After the camp was set up, I didn't think much about the tree. We made s'mores and told stories like any family would do. And that night we went to bed with not a worry in mind. I woke up first. I unzipped the tent to wake to silence. I liked the silence because obviously I live in the city, but this silence was different. It was as if the wildlife had been run out of the area. That's when I remembered the tree. I walked over the tree, maybe 50-60 feet away. As I approached it, I noticed a large footprint in the ground. Large, with almost claw-like features. It had to have been as large as I was just laying down. It looked to be 5 to 6 feet long. It unsettled me deep in my chest. 1, 2, 3. I stepped towards the tree. It was cut perfectly, maybe 4 feet up. Not a sign of an axe or a nick, just a perfect cut. I walked down the tree towards what was its top, its sap sparking in the morning sun, its needless gasping for air as the life leaked away from it. At the top of the tree, and to its right, was another footprint, the same size, but the other foot. Looking down the hill in the direction it was pointing was an area of footprints. All sat 15 feet apart and they disturbed the ground as if they had been running. Stupidly, I followed them. I walked down the hill, discovering footsteps more and more. They went on forever. I couldn't have followed them all. That's when I noticed footsteps moving in the other direction. They were moving towards me. The footsteps seemed to change in direction right where I stood. They started to loop. They looped up the hill and towards our campsite. Towards our campsite. Terrified, I ran up the hill. gasping for air as I followed the claw-like footsteps. As I ran, I saw more trees, more trees cut like butter, more trees freshly cut, more trees. Enough trees where there was a cleaning big enough to see our campsite, a clearing big enough to see it. It stood atop the hill. It stood over my campsite. It was about 35 feet tall, standing on the hill glooming down at my parents. It was dark as the night sky. Its hands hung low to its feet. Its fingers were long and pointed, just like its feet. I froze. It didn't notice me at first. I didn't move. Its hands reached down to my campsite and sliced the ground. Limp figures flew from its hands into the trees. My parents. Turning slowly, its hand scraped in my direction. Its large body turned to face me. That's when I noticed its face. A large grin sliced across its face. Large teeth, sharp and yellow. Its eyes were pits. Dark, endless pits. It picked up its hand from the ground and up to its face. It ran. It sped down the mountain in a flash, covering too much ground for me to hide. I ran as well. I could only cover about 200 feet before it caught me. Its claw-like feet passed over my head and stopped. It turned, its hands scraping the ground. The hand pulled back. The hand whipped the ground. The claws came around about 4 feet. The hand hit me. The rain hit me. The window was cracked and rain got in. Rain pattered my face as I jerked awake. I looked around as my friends laughed. Letting those ghost stories get you, Matt. Yeah, come on. You know it's all fake. Haha. Yeah, I know. Must have been a bad dream, I said, still scared. I shook it off. How far out are we? 10 minutes, said my father. There was 4 of us. 2 friends, my dad and I. We shortly arrived at the campsite. Why do you like it here, Mr. Douglas? Mutt doesn't actually like it, but I like to be secluded. To our left, the summit of Granite Mountain. To our right was our campsite. We stepped out the car. Whoa, a tree fell, said my friend. Are you sure? I shivered. Yeah, man, come here. I walked over to the tree. It had fallen. It had fallen because it was cut. Cut like butter, 4 feet up.